What's up, guys? Welcome back. So let's talk about the best class in Season 2 of Diablo 4. So obviously the season isn't out, but I've had a lot of people reach out and say, what class are you playing? What class do you think is the best? With, of course, the most recent updates. And I can confidently say Sorceress is looking absolutely insane, and I'll go over exactly why. So first off, Hydra, the damage is just to the moon. Very few skills get this amount of treatment. If you looked at any of the patch notes, they're like, here's 3%, here's 5%, but Hydra went from 12% to 60. This is just crazy levels of damage. On top of that, damage over time is going to be superior just in general. So it doesn't matter what class you decide to play, you want to think about doing dot damage for the brand new season. And obviously getting your stagger bar up can help out with different stun grenades and different mechanics, just so you can actually stagger the boss. And Sorceress is actually really great for cheesing certain boss mechanics because, well, Flame Shield just makes you immune, right? So it's very good for that reason. But on top of that, the other reason why is more than likely these bosses will have certain elemental attachments to them. So for example, the one in the middle, it looks like it's going to be, it's an ice beast, so it's going to be doing more likely cold damage. They've reworked resistances, and because you're going to want to get plus maximum to resistances so you can basically cap out, Sorceress is going to be just one of the easiest classes to get basically free resistances, because how it works in the game is all you need is intelligence and you will be just getting free all resistance, which is really great. And this is just not even counting like your actual build that will have your resistances added. So you basically almost have half of your resistances covered. Remember, 70 is going to be the max. This is, again, not counting other items that would give us additional resistances. It's just via the intelligence. That's how much it's adding already. And you can easily hit 1000 intelligence if you just have like int rolls on your pieces of gear. So it's not unrealistic to say we can reach very high resistances without even trying. But on top of that, the reason why I feel like Sorceress is going to be one of the best, again, take this video with, and anyone's video with a grain of salt, because the season's technically not out yet, but I wanted to have this video ready for you guys so you can kind of plan what you want to do. And I would really suggest you guys to look at damage over time. The reason why is because we are getting heavy nerfs to vulnerable damage and crit damage. Now, damage over time doesn't benefit off of crit, so it doesn't really matter how much crit multi you have, because it's just not going to matter past 50, which is the default. There's actually two really good videos, and I'm going to link them down below just so you guys can kind of get more of an understanding of why dot is just going to be superior. It's a great video by Lucky Luciano, which talks about it. I'm not going to play the video, but I'll link it down below if you guys want to dig deeper into it. But basically, everyone's going to be losing out on a lot of damage because your vulnerable damage and your crit damage is just going to be super nerfed. And the reason why is because, well, they just wanted it to be easier to get more damage for your character. They're kind of trying to even out the playing field by making so crit is worse because, well, they didn't want everyone to just get crit on every single piece of gear, but that's kind of how Diablo works. Even Diablo 3 is kind of like that. You want like crit strike trans, crit multiplier, but your dot damage does not benefit off of it. So dot damage is still going to be superior. There's a couple like different math numbers. He was counting even at like 100% crit strike chance, you would still lose in some different areas. You would just lose out on so much damage. I mean, look at the amount of damage that you would lose over here, because all of the crit damage and the vulnerable damage past the base amount, as in like you don't even need to get any vulnerable damage because it just goes straight to the additive category now. You're losing out on a massive amount of damage. But basically, if you try to use dots, it's just going to be super good. Even if you were to try to scale overpower, you're still losing out on way too much damage. But basically, it just goes over it. And when you look at like how much the dot damage is, you're not really losing out on that much damage. Overall, most people will be still losing out on a lot of damage. But at the end of the day, they said that they're going to be toning down the monster. So even though all builds, in theory, even dot builds will lose damage, they're going to be balancing the game around a different number now. We don't know those official numbers yet, but I wanted to get this video out for you guys earlier because there's one thing that is absolutely insane that they mentioned in the campfire chat. And I'm going to go ahead and actually play this for you guys so you guys can actually understand. So what is going to be discussed here is actually one of the newer Sorceress legendary nodes, and this is why, in my personal opinion, I think it's more arguably like almost a fact that Sorceress is going to be like one of the strongest classes. There's a new node for Elemental Summoner. It doesn't really matter what the old one does, it just gives you extra like cooldown and mana cost for Conjuration. But the new effect is insane. So the new legendary node for Elemental Summoner makes it so our Conjuration skills have a 10x reduced cooldown or mana cost. Doesn't really matter. They also deal bonus damage equal to 3% x of the total amount of your bonus damage with fire, lightning, and cold. So it's all three of them added together get multiplied times 0.03, and that's how they get this number. So I'm gonna let him actually explain it in like just so you can hear it from their own campfire chat.
The other really neat thing about this is that it makes your Paragon board or Paragon nodes, and even we can make items or other effects more interesting, where we say, hey, you know, you get bonus non-physical damage. That will actually triple dip with this Paragon node legend.
So you just heard it, it's going to triple dip. So how he gets this number over here where it says current bonus 20%. So you can see the damage with fire, lightning, and cold. You can just get any non-physical damage that you get on your character will basically give you that amount multiplied. So it's going to be super, super good because that's basically getting almost 15%. That's going towards this number over here. And this is really, really great because there is a brand new item in the new season called the Aspect of Elements. So you can put this on a two-hander and it's going to obviously double the stats. So what this does is it gives you increased damage to a set of 7 different types for 7 seconds, and it alternates between the two sets. So how this works is it gives you, if you play Diablo 3, it's basically Convention of Elements, but it just cycles between a set of them versus like going like fire, cold, you know, lightning, whatever. So this goes fire, lightning, and physical, then it goes cold, poison, and shadow. So it's basically, in theory, it's supposed to be kind of like you have a 50% uptime. However, we benefit from it at all times because, well, even if it rotates to cold, poison, and shadow, we still get the benefit off of the cold. Where if it rotates to fire and lightning, we still get the bonus damage from our actual skill. And if you're wondering what's the best build, I've created a hybrid build that I think is very good. I'll be working on it, but Sorceress is still going to be one of the strongest classes, like just hands down in the game because of, again, the resistances and some of the changes. And I'll kind of go over a brief kind of overview of this build. I'll still work on it because I want to still consider this build a beta build because, well, we don't have the new seasonal mechanic out yet in terms of like the bosses. We don't know how it works, but Sorceress is really great for bosses because, again, Flame Shield is super good. There's also a vampiric power that can actually make it so you can almost have unlimited energy, but it shouldn't be a problem anyways with like Chain Lightning. But at the end of the day, Flame Shield is still really good because there are certain boss mechanics where you may have to dodge, otherwise it one-shots you. But Flame Shield just kind of makes Uber Lilith very, very easy because when the blood waves come, you just pop it, right? Or if there's any like bad situation where you have to sit in a certain area, you can use Flame Shield. It's really, really good for those reasons. But yeah, this thing over here alone is super, super good. There's a lot of other changes to Sorceress, but just over here, this is with zero items equipped, okay? This is just with min-maxing in the Paragon board. And if you guys do want my like rough draft of the build, although I would say it's relatively finalized, it's just that I want to make sure that there's not going to do any secret nerfs at the very, very beginning of the season. But basically, you can see all the bonus damage over here. This is what's called non-physical damage that you can get on the Paragon board. I have nothing equipped over here, okay? We have 287, which is superior to what they were showing off. So what they were showing off in the terms of the numbers was 236, 257, and 158. So numerically, you get all of those numbers, you add them up, and then you multiply it times 0.03. With literally no gear, I have exceeded this number by quite a bit. Obviously, it's 287 times 3, and you'd get a much larger number. But that's with no gear. Wait till we get gear, and then we'll start adding it up. This one doesn't actually calculate it. And the thing is that you can't calculate it with this because, well, this item doesn't exist, so it wouldn't actually calculate it. But you would get an additional, remember, if it's a two-handed, you would get up to, if it's a perfect roll, because it's 30%, so you would get 60% at the maximum value, but you would get 60% times, there's 3 elements that we would actually want, which is fire, lightning, and cold. So if it's rotating on fire and lightning, we would get 120% bonus damage, not only for that damage, but then we get that actually multiplied with the elemental summoner, and you can see where this is going, which it gets actually quite insane. But as far as this build goes, it's the hybrid Chain Lightning with Hydra, which is already a pretty popular build. I mean, there are people out there that have done Lilith with any burn build, but Chain Lightning is really good because it still hits pretty hard and it can actually give you a lot of stun. And because these newer bosses may be quite difficult, adding the extra stun can help out with these boss fights a lot better. But anyways, this is kind of what I wanted to briefly talk about because I've been just kind of looking at other like YouTube videos. In terms of like vampiric powers, I'll kind of like just mouse over what I was planning. I'm not going to make this video a build guide. I do plan to upload a build guide, but I kind of want to give you guys gameplay, and I wanted to talk about basically what is going to be one of the best classes, and I think hands down Sorceress is going to be a fantastic choice. Again, there's very few things in the game because I'm a Diablo partner, and sometimes we do get information like earlier, and then we did get to test out the game in one instance a little bit earlier, but there has never been something that just gives you that much of a numerical change. This is just so massive to see that this gets buffed like this amount. Hydra is just going to be easily one of the strongest builds in the game for the new bosses, because keep in mind these new bosses, they're probably gonna have mechanics where you have to maybe dodge and move. Maybe they go to the side of the screen and you gotta like kill other things. Having these hydras as turrets while you can just walk around is gonna be very, very great, and chain lightning is just a very responsive skill. So I want to say with ease and confidence that this is probably going to be one of the best builds in the game, and I think that arguably the Sorceress is just going to be one of the best classes. Like I said, I'll upload another video that goes over all these things in depth, but basically what you can do is you just want to get a lot of non-physical damage, because that triple dips multiple times, because again, not only are you getting the bonus damage because you get non-physical, but then it also gets multiplied on the conjuration skill, which of course, if you go to the conjuration skill, well, we're only really using Hydra. You can get lightning spear, and this is actually just used to apply stun, but again, I don't want to go in depth for like a build guide, but definitely the best classes in the game for the newer season are more likely going to be some sort of a dot build. So think about Bleed Barbarian, think about the Poison Imbue Rogue. There is some buffs to like the Rabies Druid, but with Sorceress just being so strong in the ability to fight bosses, and on top of that, you get like, we should actually just pump this number up, but you get like more than half of your resistances already covered, and all you would need to do is pop a potion to get plus extra resistances, and you could just equip your enchantments to fit whatever boss you're fighting, and then you'll get extra maximum resistance, because 70 is max, but you can go to further than that if you do get the +2 maximum resistances, which sorcerers can do quite easy. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up. Just want to go over, like, you know, what I personally think is going to be the best class, as multiple people have been asking me what class you're going to be rolling, what are you going to be playing. Honestly, I'm going to start off just doing the Uber bosses, and then I'm going to actually start the season, because you could just do the Uber bosses, and I want to just do that ASAP with my level 100 character as soon as the season starts, because that is going to be added to the Eternal Realm as well. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell if you want to see, of course, the new Sorceress, and I'll be dropping a build guide for this one very soon. But yeah, dot builds are definitely going to be the thing to actually play next season. Anyways, peace out.